Where is Malaysia Airlines Flight 370?
Hundreds of loved ones gone missing. Years of searching.
It's in exactly the most remote part of the world.
The surprises.
Debris found off the coast of Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean.
At 12:41 a.m. on March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, bound for Beijing, China. On board were 239 people, 227 passengers, and 12 crew members. It was a flight like any other, a routine red-eye trip across Asia. Passengers settled in for the overnight journey, while the flight crew performed their usual safety checks. But just 39 minutes after takeoff, something happened that would spark one of the greatest aviation mysteries in history. Less than an hour into the flight, MH370 vanished from radar. No distress signal, no emergency call, just silence. What followed was one of the most expensive and exhaustive search operations the world had ever seen, spanning years and covering vast stretches of ocean. Yet despite millions of dollars spent and thousands of experts working on the case, the plane itself remains missing. Now, in 2025, with a new search underway, the world is asking once again, will we finally learn the truth? Before we explore the latest developments, let's rewind to the night it all began. March 8, 2014, Kuala Lumpur International Airport. It was a humid evening as 227 passengers boarded Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370. Businessmen, families, students, and holiday travelers all making their way to Beijing. The pilots, Captain Zaharie Ahmad Shah and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid, were experienced aviators, and the Boeing 777 was considered one of the safest planes in the world. The aircraft lifted off the runway at 12:41 a.m. local time. Air traffic controllers in Malaysia watched as the plane climbed to a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. Everything seemed normal. Then at 1:19 a.m., just as MH370 was leaving Malaysian airspace, the last known words from the cockpit were transmitted. "Good night, Malaysian 370. And then, nothing. Minutes later, the plane disappeared from civilian radar. It was as if MH370 had simply vanished into thin air. Air traffic control centers grew. No distress signal had been sent. No signs of trouble. Attempts to contact the pilots were met with silence. It was the beginning of a nightmare scenario that no one could have imagined.
First of all, we start with this startling new detail about the jet's possible path.
Yes, a senior Malaysian government official tells CNN that Flight 370 may have been flown on purpose along a route designed to avoid radar detection. Well, this comes from a new analysis of radar data that shows the plane flew north of Indonesia and around Indonesian airspace after it made that mysterious left turn and flew across the Malaysian peninsula. Our source says investigators reached their conclusion after reviewing radar track data from neighboring countries.
As search teams scrambled for answers, military radar revealed something shocking. MH370 had not continued toward Beijing as expected. Instead, at 1:21 a.m., just moments after contact was lost, the plane made an abrupt left turn. Instead of flying northeast, MH370 had veered west, back toward Malaysia. It passed over the Malaysian peninsula and then, inexplicably, turned south into one of the most remote and treacherous parts of the Indian Ocean. No one knows why. There was no call for help, no explanation from the cockpit. At 2:22 a.m., the plane was last detected near the Andaman Sea. By 8:19 a.m., nearly 7 hours after takeoff, the aircraft was believed to have finally run out of fuel. The last electronic handshake from the engines was received, and then total silence. The plane had vanished, somewhere over the deep, unforgiving waters of the southern Indian Ocean. What followed was the largest and most expensive search operation in aviation history. Over 120,000 square kilometers of the ocean floor were scanned. Governments from around the world contributed ships, aircraft, and satellites to find any trace of the missing jet. For years, nothing was found. Then in 2015, a breakthrough. A piece of MH370's wing, known as a flaperon, washed up on Réunion Island, a tiny landmass thousands of miles from the suspected crash site.
There was a singular failure at a common location, and that singular mechanical failure would have done exactly the same thing. At this point in the investigation, there's no evidence one way or the other.
But there would be piles of evidence if ACARS hadn't stopped transmitting.
You'd know the air condition of the engines, the route it was taking, the altitudes it was taking. We would know exactly the state of that aircraft.
Just the kind of information someone taking over a plane wouldn't want anyone to know.
Over the years, countless theories have emerged about what really happened to MH370. First, pilot suicide. Some investigators believe Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah deliberately crashed the plane in an act of mass murder-suicide. He had reportedly practiced a similar flight path on a simulator at home. But was it enough to prove intent? 2. Hijacking. Could the plane have been taken over by terrorists or rogue individuals? If so, why was no ransom demand made? Why no communication from hijackers? 3. Mechanical failure. Could a fire or electrical failure have knocked out communications, leading to a gradual descent into the ocean? But if so, why did the plane make multiple course corrections? 4th, shot down. Some theorists believe MH370 was accidentally shot down by military forces conducting secret exercises, but no government has ever admitted such an incident. The mystery deepens.
Malaysia has decided to resume the search for missing Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, which mysteriously disappeared in 2014 in the southern Indian Ocean. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said the decision was based on new information presented by US-based private marine exploration company Ocean Infinity. Afifa Arifin has the details.
Malaysia is finalizing terms for an expanded undersea search area of more than 15,000 square kilometers off the coast of Western Australia. The Cabinet has agreed to collaborate with Ocean Infinity on a no-find, no-fee basis, meaning no payment will be made if the wreckage is not found. Transport Minister Anthony Loke says the terms are expected to be finalized by early 2025. The search operation is projected to span 18 months and will cost an estimated $70 million if successful.
Now, a decade later, a new search is underway. Ocean Infinity, a marine robotics company, is leading a fresh effort to locate the missing plane. Using state-of-the-art underwater drones, they are scanning vast areas of the ocean floor with unprecedented precision. Unlike previous efforts, this search is being conducted under a no-find, no-fee contract, meaning Ocean Infinity will only be paid if they locate MH370. With advanced technology, hope has been reignited. Could this finally be the breakthrough the world has been waiting for?
Guilan Watralos lost his wife and his 2 children on MH370. When the plane debris washed up on the beach in La Réunion, it also brought months of suffering back to the surface.
Everything that I lived during the last 14 months came back to me, and I was just with myself and again wondering why this is happening, so I lived again all those awful months.
One thing has remained intact: Guilan's desire to know the truth.
My only fight is I want to know what happened to my family. I want to know where they are and why they are there. This is the only answer. And what I want to say is I think any single human being in this Earth needs to know what happened.
Nur Leila Ga is another relative whose life took a tragic turn when MH370 disappeared with her husband on board. The months have passed, but the absence of evidence has left her in limbo, unable to move on.
It's really a while, it's 500 over days, and we are counting days also. I don't want that to be until the rest of my life.
She hopes the plane debris set to be examined in France will help bring her solace after so much pain.
A closure would be nice. And although I don't have anybody to bury it, but at least I know what really happened, and to make things clear.
It's been over 11 years since MH370 vanished without a trace. Families of the missing passengers continue to wait, hoping for answers, longing for closure. The ocean has kept its secrets for over a decade, but maybe, just maybe, we are closer than ever to uncovering the truth. What do you think happened to MH370? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe the new search will finally locate the wreckage? If you love exploring the world's greatest mysteries, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because more real crime stories are coming your way. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.